So credit card fees are also things that scare people. Fees are not bad. That will be very clear. Credit card fees are not bad.
But you got to use the perks that come with them.
You have to use the perks that come with it. Exactly.
Yeah, right.
If I said, again, going back to my example, would you want to take a $10,000 flight for $100 cash? Absolutely. What if the credit card that you need to do that costs $300 a year to do it? Would you still take a $10,000 flight?
Sign me up.
Exactly, right?
Welcome to the Your Peak Life podcast. Let's conquer the summit of life and reach the apex of our potential.
What's up, everybody? The One Hand Wonder here, DJ Juan Hand, DJ Julian Rivera.
DJ One Hand.
Another episode here of Your Peak Life, My Peak Cast, and Your Peak Listening.
Cast.
All right, so we have an awesome few guests today. We have our special guests like we typically do, but we got the typical people you see around. Mr. Broker from the bottom, Mike Little's in the house today. We got Mr. Edwin June Rodriguez. We got Stephen Doe in the house as well. But our very special guest, one of my best friends, but one of the guys that you need to follow, one of the people that you need to start paying attention to, because he goes by DeAndre Coke, a.k.a. Boldly Go, a.k.a. if he's in town, it's a surprise because he's usually on the other side of the world. DeAndre, what's going on, my friend?
Hey, happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
All right, cool. That's the episode. Thank you. You met him. We're out. See you later. Have a good one.
I just want to know how you got on a schedule, because I know, you travel a lot.
Yes, he does.
Yeah, well, I had to coordinate last time I came here. I think I had just gotten back in from Roatan for, in Honduras.
Yep.
So I actually did a lot of traveling earlier this year. So I'm having a little bit of a break. Because also, we're at the beach, right? So I got a house here by the bay. So I like being by the water. So I'm going to enjoy the summer. And then we've got bachelor party, which is in Vegas, which Julian will be at. And then wedding is in the Dominican Republic in October. And then we're going to be doing a somewhere between 30 to 38 day honeymoon. And we're going to Singapore, or we're starting in Hong Kong, then Fiji, then New Zealand. And so we're going to take some time there. So I got a lot more travel in the back end of the year. So I actually am here for the summer for the first time in forever.
So hold on, audience. Just so you know, he just dropped bombs on you of where he's traveling. You're probably like, that's cool, but how are you doing this? So today's episode is focusing not just on DeAndre Coke, but the lifestyle that he's built by understanding the knowledge that's out there and how to utilize credit cards and your finances in a certain way to get you to take those trips for very little to nothing out of pocket. So DeAndre, we met a minute ago. All right. Fun fact, guys.
Yep.
If he could start his life all over again, he would actually be a DJ. I'm not joking. So he's actually traveled with me on a lot of the stuff that I've done up and down the East Coast, and he's been like my hype man in a few events. I can't even make this up. DJ Sirius is his alias. But DeAndre and I met a very, very long time ago when he started his career in financial planning. I was doing one of many events when I was at the radio station. He was just happened to be there, and I found this out after the fact, but he told me that I had to talk to somebody before I left. You're in sales, you got to talk to somebody in the room before you leave. He just happened to come to me, and I'm the guy that he just randomly walked up and talked to. He probably was scoping out the whole time because I'm running around controlling chaos.
Find somebody else?
But no, he didn't. He found me. He found me. Here we go. So
that's what's going on over in Norfolk. That's
the brotherly love. So he ended up chatting, but this is also the beginning of his financial planning career. Fast forward to today, he's literally year over year the number one financial planner at Northwestern Mutual here in the town center area of Virginia Beach. And he's also created a completely different living life by design, by traveling, by understanding money and understanding cards. So give us a little history, because you and I started about credit card, I call hacking, but credit card understanding the point game back around the same time. But you went to Harvard, bro. I went to TCC. So tell us kind of your story, how you got there, and then we'll start talking about other things and where you're traveling to.
Yeah, I'm going to take a little bit back a bit as well, right? Because what does your shirt say?
Get in the room.
Get in the room, right? And so you go back to that original meeting. So I think at that point, probably either year one or year two of my financial planning practice. And quite literally, you said, "Oh, he's the one I made." It was a really dope setup. It was the entire intercom kind of team that put together this special function on the local military base. They had SEAL demonstrations, all sorts of stuff. The whole Z Morning Zoo was there as well. I actually rode in the shuttle with the Z Morning Zoo from the parking lot outside of the base into this event, right? And the whole time I was at kind of a lower point in my life. I was struggling financially with the business, because most financial advisors fail early in their careers. So to make it beyond year one,
sounds like a real estate agent.
It does.
It's very similar, very similar. So to make it past year one, so I think the attrition is 1 in 5 advisors make it past year 5. So I was in year one, and I was in this event. I just didn't feel like myself. And I'm a naturally outgoing person. I just really hadn't connected with anybody. And quite literally, the event's over at this point, and I'm walking out the door, and I see one guy swinging a Steelers lanyard, right, as everyone's like ushering out the door, right? So it's not like the time for talking and like drinking and cocktails is all over. And I'm like, I have to talk to one single person, right? And so this is where it comes back to the get in the room, right? If I had been like, I'm just not feeling it today to go to this event, Julian and I might never met.
Yeah, right.
Ever, right? If I take the initiative to say, all right, let me at least talk to one guy, right? This likely would never have happened. The relationship we've had over the last 10 plus years would never have happened. So I wanted to go back to a point that you always bring up, which is get in the room, because you just never know what happens when you're not in said rooms. And that's huge. So to go back from the standpoint of like travel and points and miles and credit cards and all those different things. So yeah, I have my financial planning practice now for about 15 years. And I've always had a passion and a love for travel. So my mom's Jamaican, my dad's Panamanian. I grew up as a kid getting a chance to go back home, visit family, and we did road trips and all sorts of things, which, we were never, we were probably upper or lower class growing up. My dad was a Norfolk firefighter, and that was it. But we took time to travel. I know a lot of individuals don't even get a chance to leave Virginia or leave the country or whatever it may be. But I always had a vision and travel instilled in me. And so as I was in my practice and I was getting to a place where I was no longer starving and I was actually having a little bit of success and growing, I was like, okay, let me get out and figure out how I can travel more myself. So I started getting credit cards that allowed me to earn points for travel, which is what a lot of people do. They they Google search, what's the best credit card for travel, whatever it may be. At around the same time, clients, as their advisor, were asking me, what credit card should I be getting for my business, or I want to travel more, whatever it may be. And instead of just saying, oh, well, this is what I have, this is what you should do, I started researching and doing my own due diligence because I have to be able to provide them the best advice. By doing that, I started going down the rabbit hole and learning that most people are using their travel credit cards wrong. When I say that, a lot of business owners, especially if you have some success, you probably have an Amex Platinum, a Business Platinum, a Chase Sapphire Reserve, something like that that's earning points. You also probably have the American Airlines and the Delta cards and those type of things as well. But a lot of people have, some of the more prestigious cards. I learned that those cards, those companies want you to use their ecosystem of points within their platforms. So a good example I always like to give is, as an example, if you want to fly Emirates first class or Qatar Q suites, one of the planes that your room or your seat turns into a bed, or you and the connecting seat next to you turns into a suite. That's a $10,000 plane ticket. And these are flights where people are, they're serving you unlimited Dom, caviar. I'm talking, one of the flights we took, it was Johnny Walker Blue was just on the menu, right? Like, if you want flights like that, that's a $10,000 plus ticket. So just for simple math, the way, as an example, Amex's point system works, if you want to go to Amex's website, Amex Travel specifically, and use your points that you've built up through your business expenses, your personal spending, all those different things, you're going to see, I want to take that flight, a $10,000 flight is 1 million points. And if you've been working hard it takes a long time to rack up 1 million points. Yeah. And most people, outside of the initial sign-up bonus you get when you get a card, most people, you got to spend $1 million to get 1 million points. There's rules, there's things around that, but for the most part, most people aren't doing that. What I found out is that same flight, that's 1 million Amex points, when you book it directly on Emirates, might only be 120,000 Emirates miles. And Amex transfers to Emirates 1-to-1. So you can just transfer 120,000 Amex points to Emirates, and you now have 120,000 Emirates points. You can book that same flight. And you just saved yourself over 800,000 Amex points to use for something else. So by unpacking that and learning that, I was like, oh my gosh, I can travel so much more for so much less as well.
For free, basically.
For pretty much for free. Now, when it comes to flights, a lot of times there's taxes and fees and surcharges and stuff like that, and you learn as you play the game more. Certain airports like Heathrow, like the taxes might be $400 to fly through there, but certain flights we've taken, Qatar Q suites out of JFK, 70,000 points, $12 cash per person on top of the 70,000 points.
Easy.
And that's a 12-hour flight to Qatar where me and my fiance's our two seats next to each other in the middle of the plane turned into a full suite, enclosed, no roof. There's a roof though, so nothing crazy happened.
I mean, you got the drop top plane. We're talking about something different, dog. I'm just saying. I don't even know those exist. So you've done these travels. I mean, if you're following you on Boldly Goal on your Instagram, what's your IG, by the way?
So Instagram is boldlygo.world.
Okay, so if you go on there and you've seen all these influencers traveling, doing these, the reels and whatever, like he does this. Like that's the thing, like that's out there and he shows how you can do it, but providing that value is huge. So you started doing this, obviously you want to proof the concept. You want to make sure I'm doing this shit right and you've done it for a while. And then roughly a little over 2 years ago, you launched your podcast.
Right.
And your podcast is?
So the podcast is called Revolutionizing Your Journey. Similar to this, it's on all platforms. It's syndicated across everywhere. It's consistently in the top 100 for Apple Podcasts in the travel category.
Yep.
And so we bring guests on all the time, and we just talk through some of it's high level, like, hey, here's why you may just think of credit cards. You hear credit cards and you automatically think debt, and you're like, oh no, I can't do this, and that's wrong. We can talk about that. But sometimes it's more of a deep dive as to like, hey, these are the specific cards that work this specific way for these specific purposes. So sometimes it's high level, sometimes it's more in depth. But one of the things I always bring it back to is financial responsibility, because unlike most of the players in this game, most of them don't have credentials and liability for what they say. So I got to make sure that what I'm saying is going to I understand that what I say has ramifications in a lot of different ways. Now, of course, I'm not giving investment advice, and there's all the disclaimers that I'm not giving fiduciary planning advice through the podcast, but I still owe to my listeners and to myself to give quality information. So everything I talk about from a travel standpoint is about the financial responsibility. And to sum it up, a way to kind of even simplify it, most of us, if we're going to travel, we have some sort of travel budget. It can be $2,000, it can be $10,000, no matter what your budget is, we have some sort of budget.
Yep.
So if your budget, let's say it's for a honeymoon, you're like, hey, we're going to spend $10,000 for our honeymoon and we're going to really have a great experience. Probably $5,000 to $6,000, if not the majority of it's going to be your airfare and your hotel stay. Well, what if we had the same $10,000 budget, but your airfare and your hotel stay was less than $2,000 because you understood how to use points and such for that? Well, now what would you do if you had $8,000 more to spend on your honeymoon?
Yeah.
Right. What excursions, what experiences would you have? And so that's why the podcast is called Revolutionizing Your Journey, because it's revolutionizing the way you travel and the experiences that you have when you do travel.
It's a twofold. You're helping people, in theory, save money in the legal way that you can do it because you're a financial planner. And then obviously anybody can do the travel points. It doesn't matter what you're doing, what stage of life you're really at. You just got to be a proof of a credit card and make sure you're just following the steps. There was one website that you pointed out to me, guys. You got to know this. You got to write this one down. It's a website that you can shop with only points, and it goes across mad different platforms. What's that website called?
So there's a few of them. The one that I use and I think is probably the best and most rounded is pointsyeah.com.
And what does that do?
Think of it as like Google flight searching, but for points. And so what it does is you can say, hey, I want to go from here to wherever. You actually can literally put anywhere in the world, but you can say, I want to go from here to Cleveland. I want to go here from Florida, here to England, Maldives, whatever it may be. And it's going to show you all the different airlines, or the majority of them, that you can book with points. And it's going to share with you whether you have Amex points, Chase, Capital One, Citi, who you can transfer to do that. Here's the thing. Traveling on points is a different concept than, and most people struggle because it takes a few extra steps.
Yeah.
If I said, hey, do you want to spend $100 to take a $10,000 plane ticket? Probably would be like, yeah, right? If I said, hey, it's going to take you a few extra steps to do it, though, that's the part where people disconnect. And the reason why is right now, if you want to go to Miami, you're going to go Google Flights. You're going to see your flight round trip, whether you want business or regular or economy, is this round trip dates, boom, 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 $500 cash, done. Points, it's a little bit different. Points, it's that same flight you just looked at one way, or not even one way, but leaving today might be 50,000 points, but tomorrow might be 15,000 points. And so it's a big difference just from that standpoint. So it's looking more so at one ways versus a round trip and understanding the world and how everything works. So it's a lot to take in and understand, but there's a process to start very simple and then educate yourself and get more and more experience over time.
I'm taking a guess you looked at Edwin and said Miami because he looks like Pitbull, right?
Exactly it.
I figured that's what it was.
Yeah,
you know?
that's just called to me.
And then you're talking to, Navy,
Local.
No, not local. No, formal medical professional.
He said local.
DJ. So you're talking to different people that have already been a professional in some other way, right? We all happen just to be in real estate right now. And we talked many of times before this, but forget the profession. If you are a independent contractor, you are in business, there is 1,000 different ways that money can be affecting your points in a positive way if you're just doing it the right way.
100%. If you are someone that's disciplined and able to manage your finances well, every single possible expense that you have that can be placed on a credit card, you should 100% put on a credit card that's going to earn you points. And I want to be very clear about this, going back to financial responsibility. People hear credit cards, they automatically assume debt. And we've talked about this many, many times. If you get a credit card and you never actually carry a balance, you're always paying it off every single month. You charge $2,000, you pay off $2,000. You charge $5,000, you pay off $5,000. You're never paying interest. The moment you start paying interest, it doesn't matter how valuable and how good you are using your points, you're losing to the interest itself.
Yep.
So credit card fees are also things that scare people. Fees are not bad. That will be very clear. Credit card fees are not bad. I've got multiple credit cards.
But you got to use the perks that come with them.
You have to use
That's
the perks
the
that come
catch.
with it. Exactly.
Yeah, right.
So if I said, again, going back to my example, would you want to take a $10,000 flight for $100 cash? Absolutely. What if the credit card that you need to do that costs $300 a year to do it? Would you still take a $10,000 flight?
Sign me up.
Exactly, right? So the value, if this card that might have a $100 fee or a $500 fee, I can get $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 of value out of the points that it gives, plus all the other perks and benefits it provides.
Yep.
It's 100% worthwhile. And so that's why it's understanding the financial responsibility. So credit card fees are okay. It's debt that you don't want to be keeping.
But don't you have to use these cards in order to build points? So so if I'm hearing correctly, you have multiple cards, but the way to build points is to consistently utilize that card, right? So a lot of people will just have like one American Express Platinum card that they just charge everything to.
Yep.
And I'm probably guilty of this too. I'm just maximizing that card and building points on that one card. But from what you're saying is there's multiple cards that can give you bigger benefits in certain things. Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly it. So I'm probably going to scare the listeners with what I'm about to say, but I'm going to come back and explain why they shouldn't be scared. In total, between my personal and my 3 businesses, so I have the wealth management, I have the travel brand, and then I have investment property, which I got a great realtor, Julian, for that helps with that.
Ding, ding, ding.
So I probably in total, between personal and business, between personal cards and business credit cards, have somewhere probably around 17 or so in total. Now, to be very clear, I don't keep 17 cards in my wallet. I've got like maybe 3 that I actually use on a regular basis. And so most people would hear that, and they're like, oh my God, you're probably way in debt, which I already clarified that I'm not. So to be very clear, I pay for everything. But they also would assume my credit score is in the tank. I actually post on our website, I post annually my credit score. Last update, it was like 829. Or sorry, 844.
Because you're paying
because I'm very diligent. Banks keep giving me credit. I don't have to use it all. Right. So I'm very responsible from that standpoint. So there's a few different reasons why I have so many. Amex will keep saying, "Hey, here's a $250. Here's an offer. If you spend $20,000 on this card in the next 3 months or 6 months, we'll give you 250,000 Amex points." The card might have a $600 fee, but we'll give you 250,000 Amex points. 250,000 Amex points at a beginner level is worth $2,500 at a beginner level. I can turn it into probably easily $5,000, if not closer to $10,000, just for that amount of points. So for me, it's worthwhile to spend $600 or $700 for a card. I'm spending 20 grand on it.
Yep.
With 20 grand that I have to spend with my normal expenses through the business or personal
because you're spending
or
it
whatever.
anyways.
I'm spending it anyway, but I'm getting this huge bonus. I might not need to use this card on my daily life, but I use it to get what I need to, and I'll keep it for some period of time.
Okay.
And I'll make sure to use all the benefits in
Do you
that.
ever shut any cards down?
So on the business side, I do. On the business side, I will shut cards down because the thing with business cards, they don't report to your personal credit, so they don't affect your average range of credit history. Personal cards do. Okay. So the personal cards I do try to keep, unless there's some reason why I really need to get rid of them, or if I can, I try to downgrade them or switch them to maybe a 0 fee card. That way it stays open, but I'm not really using them at all.
Yeah.
But then there's other cards, as an example. So you talk about your daily spend. An Amex Platinum, as an example, just gives you 1x on everything unless you're buying flights and stuff like that. But for the most part, you're getting 1x on everything. Whereas if you have the Amex Personal Gold or a Chase Sapphire Reserve, you're getting 3x on the Chase for dining, and the Amex Gold is giving you 4x on dining and groceries. So if a big expense for your family, Julian, you and your 5 kids, right? You guys are spending a lot of money on food, then a card that gives you 4x on dining, if you're already spending $1,000 a month on dining out and $1,000 a month on groceries, $2,000 a month, that's 8,000 Amex points a month on just groceries.
Facts.
Which if you were using a regular Amex Platinum, you'd only be getting 2,000 points a month.
So which one do I need to get?
Well, you said that, and I learned that very early on. Gold for food and everyday usage, platinum for travel, lodging, and shit like that. To maximize the amount of points that they're going to offer on that end.
Within Amex, correct.
In the Amex world, right? So that's one, I always know that. If I'm traveling, I'm doing my platinum. If I'm going to get lunch after this or whatever, I'm using my gold. Just because, like you said, the quantifier on
I'm
that
not gonna
one.
lie, I've been debating what I'm gonna eat when we leave here.
Perfect. So, but then with that being said, too, the other thing that I've learned is when, like, for example, we just got a Costco card, all right? And that was not part of the plan. We just read up our membership. We go to Costco all the time. But they give you 5% back on gas and 4% back on your EV charging, which I didn't know that. I have not yet to see any other card. DeAndre has an EV. I have an EV. June now has an EV. You guys will join the club soon.
Never.
But,
Absolutely never.
all right, well, you stay over there then, Mike.
That
all right.
70SS will just ring true until I die.
I mean, it's beautiful, but that's not your daily. But anyway.
It might be one day.
Okay, fair enough. But the fact that I can get 4% back on what I'm charging is different. And that was actually a win. But then the 3% back on everything else was the real reason why we did that. There was no initial the sign-on bonus was like minimal. But that's what got me to even know that. So now in her Rivian and my Rivian, all we did is just switch the cards out. Because now we know we're going to get money back. And that's all we're using is for Costco and EV. That's all we're going to pay for because that's where we're going to go grocery shopping. But to your point, I have probably the same amount of credit cards you do, but I only use my Platinum and my Gold. I don't use really anything else. Now this city
Is
one.
the gold a personal? Is that
So there's a business gold and a personal
Yeah,
gold.
I got one
The
each.
personal gold is the one that gives you for the dining and groceries.
Correct.
Business
Yep.
gold is more like shipping and other things.
yourself.
Yeah.
Are most of them American Express, the ones that you hold, they're kind of everywhere.
So they're
Chase,
so they're
American
everywhere.
Express.
So actually that brings me back to Julian's point on the EV side. So American Express is the one that's typically more favorable, and basically they literally mail me offers for new cards, especially for my businesses. On the personal side, though, I have one personal gold, one personal Amex, which back in the day you could get an Amex and later on get a gold, and you can get the welcome offers for both of those. Now it's a tiered system, so if you get the platinum, you can't go back and get the welcome offer for the gold. You have to actually go
personal
up.
though.
Per personal.
Yeah,
personal.
yeah.
So you have to go up in quality of card to keep getting the welcome offers. But so I essentially have pretty much all the platforms. So Amex, Chase, I have Capital One, I've got Citi, and to my point, Citi, which is a sleeper, they have, I believe it's 3x on gas and EV charging. And the reason why I would look at that is because Costco's great. If you're spending a lot of money at Costco, you're getting the cash back. Like cashback also can make sense in this world, but I do focus on everything I can that's points that are transferable. And so I don't put a lot on my American Airlines card. I do have it. It helps with status and other things, but I don't put a lot of my spend on there because I want points that I can move to an Emirates, to a Hilton, to a Hyatt, or whatever it may be. So for Citi, specifically, they have a card that gets you 3x on charging. I would prefer to get 3x on charging there than 4% back at Costco, because on Citi, I can transfer that to Choice Hotels or to different airlines like British Airways and different places where I can get more value out of those points and the cash back I'm receiving.
The funny thing you just said that, another reason why I wanted to get this card and was a selling point, I don't have a Citi card, and I like concerts. And anybody ever see, like, when Ticketmaster goes live, it's like the Citi prepaid concerts. Like, that's the only card that they're partnered with to get, like, early access for pre-sales. That was the first thing that popped in my mind. DJ, sorry, guys. This is what it is. But I like concerts not just locally either. If I'm going out of town or whatever, you can get those prepaid ones on that. So I was like, all right, now I'll have a Citi card because it's backed by Costco's card's backed by Citi. That was a checkbox right there.
What's the name of your podcast again, where people can go get this free game that you're giving?
Yeah, revolutionizing your journey.
Because it's a lot to take in from like each product, what it offers,
Yeah.
what you should use.
Yeah.
But what I want people to get is you're not telling people to just go swipe credit cards and buy whatever.
100%.
Hell
You're
no.
telling them to use it in their daily life responsibly.
If
If
you're
you're
gonna
going
have-
to
yeah.
buy gas, use that, turn around, pay it off, right? If you're going to buy groceries that you're already paying for,
Exactly.
use that. And you're not encouraging people to go just apply for credit
frivolously.
cards and go swipe and hope they can figure it out. Like, no, you already have a monthly budget. You're saying use credit for that, but never pay the interest
Correct.
and see all the benefits from it.
That's exactly it.
So you got to. Everyone has a monthly budget. Just put it on this card. But you're saying that a lot of people are scared. A lot of people get scared of using a credit card because they don't trust themselves. And to be fair, I wasn't scared, but I was stupid as hell when I started my journey a long ass time ago. I just wasn't paying my stuff. I mean, I had like a 490 credit score when I was in my early 20s. I just wasn't paying my stuff. That's literally what I was doing.
Yeah, well, they also don't teach you about it in school,
Correct.
so it's not like.
And I was I'm more of a cash guy. And this is before we had YouTube. This is before we had all this free game out there. And then when I started paying attention, changed that up. Now I actually went and got a card and started building it up.
It took these guys 2 years to get me to put all the company bills on a credit card.
June, you convinced them to do this?
Probably Eric, maybe.
Eric? Okay.
More so.
Good.
I'm like the guy who I don't want to use my credit cards. Like I don't even have the business. He knows business credit cards. Like I don't have any of that shit on me because I don't want to confuse.
But you have it.
I have
Okay,
it.
all right.
He has it, but like he don't carry it. Like the other day, we were paying for the Traverse City trip or whatever, and he's like, "Do you have your card on you? Because I don't keep that on me." I was like, "Yeah, I got it." You know what I mean?
I ain't trying to.
He just he keeps church and state separate.
Yes,
But you know yourself. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know myself, and I don't want to have that a lot because we use all of our cards are the same for all the companies.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to. Not me.
But we did end up going with American Express. We applied to a couple different ones, and we'll probably. But what we did as a company, and since you're here, maybe you could tell us if we're doing this correctly, because I don't necessarily understand the business on that forefront between personal and business, right? So from a company standpoint, we got the American Express business card, and then we put like all the monthly bills on it at this point, whether it's the MLS fees, any association fees that we're paying, if we're doing events, if we're flying to a conference, we just booked the lodging and the flights for the summit. So we put all that on there and we just pay that off monthly now. We're doing that in hopes that we can get a contribution towards our very expensive company trip that's coming up because we've just been paying out of pocket for years. And I didn't understand that, we could save money for stuff that we were already doing.
For sure. So there's a few things to that. I also want to be very clear before I forget with those that are listening. You don't have to be as insane as I am when it comes to like having 17 cards on all different things.
Right,
There's a lot of people in this space as well. I also want to be clear. You don't have to be a financial advisor to understand and do well in this. I have friends that have their own podcasts in this space, or they do content creation in the points and miles space, and they come from all walks of life, like single moms, like parents. Like one of the outside of the points guy who's kind of started this world in itself. One of the other biggest names out there, they're literally called like the Travel Mom Squad. Like it's literally just moms that put out content on how to travel with points. So you don't have to be
Travel Mom Squad.
Yeah, exactly. And they're huge, and so
they gotta be huge.
Yeah,
They got to be.
And you don't have to have again a financial advisor level of knowledge to do this, or have 17 credit cards. You can have a much more simplistic style and approach, and just do what works specifically for you. So to your point, everything that you said is exactly what you want to do. You have business expenses, put them on a business credit card. Ideally, it's an Amex. And this I want to also clarify here. When I say
Where's
Amex,
my wallet? I'm about to get my education on, man.
when I say Amex Gold or Amex Platinum, that's not the Amex Delta Gold or the Amex Delta Platinum, right? That's not one of those are co-branded cards. So someone can say, "Oh, I have the Amex Platinum. Yeah, it's the Delta one." Well, no, that's all Delta miles.
Yeah.
So you can only use those miles with Delta
Right,
or
that's
Delta's carriers.
That's not like business credit. It's different.
And they do have business credit cards, but those Delta miles you can't transfer to Emirates or other places.
It's not Amex miles.
Which
It's
is
not
why
Amex
you
points.
like to rack the points that are interchangeable.
Transferable, correct. So to your point, if you're using a business Amex and it's transferable points, here's how you actually want to do this. And actually, we had a podcast episode a few weeks ago where I had a physician. She's actually trying to figure out how to build her $5 to $7 million clinic, dermatology clinic, and get points for the majority of that spend. But she has 3 partners.
Okay.
She talks on that episode specifically about how to share points across the partnership in depth, which is really cool. I have a blog post on that as well. But you want to spend all of your money or all your expenses on the cards. Your business trips, honestly, you want to put on the card as well. You want to spend like you've been spending. You want to use the points for the owners and the partners for your personal life and personal travel. Because
Okay.
if the trip is $10,000, yes, you could probably use points and save some money on that expense, but you're also losing the write-off as well, right? Whereas you can transfer those, get those points and use them for your own personal lives, your family trips, whatever it may be, and now your personal trips are close to free or nearly free or less expensive, and you're getting the full write-off for your business.
Wow.
And another thing to note as well, a lot of people, when they have a business credit card that offers cash back instead of points, I don't know, let's say you spend $1 million on expenses and you have a 5% cash back on all of that, hypothetically, right? So you get $50,000 back in cash back. Technically, if you do this right and by the IRS code, you're supposed to offset your write-off by that $50,000 you just got back.
Right.
But if you get that in points, that rule does not apply. Right, so you can maximize your tax efficiency with your business expenses
If you use the points
by
right.
using the points method properly, and then again transferring that back to your personal lives versus on the business side.
Have you written a book? Did you speak? I'm asking seriously. You know, I've seen you in a couple spaces, but people need this information. Like,
I mean, that's why I've been putting it out there in the podcast. We have a community that's growing, a private Facebook group, all that stuff you find through the podcast or a newsletter. But these are the levels where, like Julie and I always talk, there's levels to this, right?
Yeah.
Like anyone coming in can very simply say, hey, let me get the Amex Gold as an example. I'm going to put all my family daily expenses on that. I'm going to learn that. I'm going to understand how I can build my Amex points, and then I'll level up. Maybe then I'll get a Chase card. Maybe I'll get something else. You can grow into this. You don't have to come in again and fire off and get 17 credit cards.
Yeah.
But as a business itself, get as many points as you guys can possibly get on your cards. And then there's ways on how you can learn to divvy up the points that you guys earn as opposed to just using them through the business. Now I can talk on that, but that's a little bit more complex on how to do it.
Yeah.
But there's value there. So you want to come back to it, pay for your company trip like you would, put it on the card so you maximize the points. All the points you get from all these expenses using your personal lives.
It makes sense.
Yep.
So you have taught me a lot of things over the years, and one thing I want to say, you were there to my wedding this year at the Hyatt. So I ended up getting a Hyatt credit card on purpose months and months and months before the wedding because I knew I want to get some fucking points for the money that I'm spending, right? I already knew I did. So long story short, the points that I had already accumulated from other Amex signups and just spending money like normal paid for my flights. It paid for the flights for the 9 people that had to fly there. My mom,
for
my
stuff
kids.
you were already going to do anyway.
Correct. So my flights there were covered minus the taxes I had to pay. Then I had to pay for the whole wedding, right? I had to pay for the whole wedding like normal, right? But I paid for all my Hyatt card. So then because the Hyatt was at the wedding, the Hyatt, because it was spent there, I got like 4x return on that money that I spent for the wedding there. On top of that, any money that you spend there, I don't remember the multiplier,
9x.
like 9x multiplier whenever you spend something on site there. Long story short, I ended up getting damn near 250,000 points for my wedding back that now I'm going to use on another trip that Myra and I are planning now.
And so to hit on that real quick, 250,000 points. We stayed in the Park Hyatt Maldives, which the Park Hyatt brand is essentially Park Hyatt's Ritz-Carlton level.
Gotcha.
We stayed there 35,000 points a night. 35,000 points a night for a top-end property in the Maldives. And so 250,000 points, that's what, 7, 8 nights there paid for?
Yeah.
That would typically be $1,500 a night.
Gotcha. So company trip, if we do dinner, if we have an open bar, if we do the catamaran trip, whatever, put all that on the business credit card.
That's the write-off side. Because if you spend points for the airfare and all the different things, you lose the write-off ability. So if you're trying to save money for the business, then you can use the points. But realistically, if you're going to spend the money anyway, get the write-off and then use the points for your personal travel.
So a lot of what Julian did, it was just like it's premeditated. If you know you're gonna go do something, go get that card so you can maximize it. Is that?
I mean, in theory, if you know you have a budget that you're gonna spend every month, let's just talk about the everyday average Joe. You spend 2 bands a month, 500 this, 500. It don't matter what the breakdown is. Just pay that shit off every month. Yeah, that's really the basics on that. And the number one thing too is that protection factor. We talked about that in front of the agents earlier. That protection factor on the card is really the number one reason why I use credit cards, because if I have something that's on there that I ain't charged or whatever, they're going to go after their money because it's a loan. If it's that debit card, good luck. It's my money. The bank might help. They might not, but it's guaranteed with the credit card.
Just making sure you pay
That's
it off.
That's a great point.
I think what the biggest consumer fear is that anytime you open up a credit card, your credit's getting dinged, right?
Yep.
Your credit's getting dinged. But as long as you're paying it and being responsible, like you guys said, that's how you're maximizing it. However, any listeners, if you're any of my clients, if you're about to close a house, better not be opening no damn credit cards. Don't do
That's
it.
a great point.
Yeah,
I got a couple questions though, because this is your peak life, and we kind of turned it into an educational session, which is great.
Yep.
But I have a question for you. What's the coolest thing you've done utilizing these systems that you've appeared to have mastered at this point? I mean, I don't know many people doing it at the level that you're doing it at. So
Was it last trip?
what's your coolest experience that you've covered using these tactics?
He flew to Newport News.
But look at it. Do you see how hard he's thinking? That means he's got a ton of them.
He
So
does.
so this stuff is
Well,
working.
he's going on like a 6-week honeymoon.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like
bro.
some crazy. Yeah, I'm going on honeymoon. It's 38
You were just
days.
you were in a pod flying
What?
in the Emirates. Like,
we've had a lot of really, really cool experiences. I would probably say that. So my fiance Taryn, who's Julian's met, absolutely amazing woman. We met, and I was like, hey, I don't really want to have kids. I want to travel. And she was like, deal. It works for me. Right. So 5 months into dating.
How do I get rid of my kids so I can
it's Father's Day weekend. Dang, bro.
I'll trade in Father's Day. I'm good with that. No,
And
just
I'm
kidding.
30. I'm 35. She's a couple years older than me, and we met 3.5 years ago, right? So we're already in our 30s. So this isn't like a 21-year-old just saying like, I don't want it. This was like we're already like had a little bit
Grinding.
of life behind me, right? And so a couple months in, I think one of our first trips, we went to Miami. Nothing, we had a great time. Nothing too big. But then 5 months in, we went to Greece, Santorini, Mykonos. And people were like, "Oh my god!"
Okay.
And all of our friends were like, "Dude, you going to Greece in 5 months? Like he's proposing there?" She's like, "Nah, dude just loves to travel."
Yep.
Right. So we had some really cool trips. I was kind of building on that. So I to answer your question of like what was the coolest, we've had a lot of really cool highlights. I would probably say. We've been to the Maldives twice. The first time that we went, again, using points to fly there. So anytime we fly long haul, if I'm flying more than 6 hours, it's going to be business class. It's going to be ideally lie flat. I'll pay cash for an economy flight. Here to maybe as far as California.
Yeah,
but if I'm flying to London, anything that
you need some comfort.
I want comfort.
Yeah.
I want comfort. So use points, all sorts of stuff to get us to the Maldives and back. We had a couple stays there that were cash, but we did the Park Hyatt that stay, which was fantastic. But before the Park Hyatt, at one of the resorts we stayed at, I planned, and I had spent about a month planning in advance, talking to the GM, which they're an hour, or they're a half a day ahead of us. So he's texting and calling me at 4:30 a.m. like when I'm in the morning when I'm trying to go to the gym.
Yeah.
Right. Long story short, I was able to coordinate a proposal in the Maldives in a sandbank in the middle of the Indian Ocean. And that was probably the peak that was probably one of the coolest things that I was able to do because of points. Now again, that whole trip wasn't all just done on points, but I was able to get there.
You got a lot of experiences through it.
Correct. I was able to get there and back on the less than the cost of what it would have been for me to fly economy to California.
But it's also because you created a memory.
All right, so what's your favorite place?
What's my
Favorite place you've been? Give me top three.
Okay,
if you
I'll give you
can't
top
pick
three.
one. Okay.
I'll give you top three. My number one place, Taryn always gets on my case because it's the one place we have not been together, is Thailand. I think it's one of the coolest places in the world. You can experience whatever you want there, from the parties, from the cultural side with the monks. I bathed elephants in a river in a sanctuary, like an actual sanctuary, so not like a tourist place for elephants or anything like that, but like an actual sanctuary where these are retired field elephants.
Wow.
That were the youngest was 54 years old, the oldest was 90-something years old.
Wow.
It's like a giant puppy. So I had some really cool experiences in Thailand. Then I would say the next place would be Bali.
Okay, Bali's on my list. It's one I haven't been to.
So Bali lives up to the hype. I'll be honest with you. Bali lives up to the hype. We use points for a lot of our stay there. Use points to get there as well. Oman, so underrated.
Where the hell is Oman?
Believe it or not, it's across the Arabian Sea from Iraq. It is next to. So it goes Qatar, Dubai, Oman.
Yep.
And Oman.
Shoot, I like Dubai too.
So Dubai is a blast. Oman, fantastic place. The people were the kindest. I rented a car, drove through. I'm like four-wheeling with a Hyundai, the Tucson four-wheel drive through dunes. roads are better than any road you've ever driven in the U.S.
Really?
Hands down. There's so much. In the Omani Royale, or I forgot the denomination, is worth $2 of U.S. dollars or something crazy. Yeah, it's.
Hold on, in a good way or bad way?
Our money is worth half of one of their.
Oh,
dollars.
they're richer than us in
Yes.
a bad way.
Yes.
All right, got
Yeah.
you. Okay.
Yeah. So
They're an oil country.
correct.
Yeah, that's
correct. Fantastic country, and then I'll throw in there as well the Maldives. It lives up to the hype. I don't think Taryn and I will go back in for a long time because we've pretty much kind of done all the things. We're both divers, so we've dove with whale sharks and manta rays and seen a lot of really cool stuff there. We've been twice now, so it's a really cool experience. Would highly recommend anyone go. But one thing is also, a lot of times when you're there, like each resort is its own island. And so you can only do kind of like what the resort has, which is a lot usually. But after you've been diving and seeing beautiful reefs and all sorts of stuff, it's a really cool experience. But there's not a lot of variety in like a Thailand or a Bali or something.
I'm like one that likes to go off the resort.
Yeah.
I like to go to the back alleys and the restaurants and experience the people and where I'm at.
Right.
I don't really like being isolated on like when we were in Jamaica. I'm like, take me out.
Right.
In Mexico, let's go. I want to do what they do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
the Maldives is really not like that.
Gotcha.
Because also, like there's some islands that are larger that are the local islands. Those are also the islands where there's typically almost no alcohol or anything like that. And the entire local population is like cramped on a single island.
Gotcha.
So it's a beautiful place, absolutely beautiful. It's worth going to.
I got one more question.
Go for it.
Does Mykonos and Santorini make your top 10?
Yes, I'd say
Okay,
that.
okay.
I'd say that. Greece in general. Greece was fantastic.
I've been to Suda Bay, Crete, Rhodes. I never made it to the Mykonos, and everybody's always talking about the Mykonos, and I'm like, is it worth booking that trip?
Yeah, and honestly, so what we did is we did Athens, Mykonos, and Santorini all, and that was our first big trip we took together. I think that was the entire trip was 8 or 9 days.
Nice.
So we only did a couple days each place. Mykonos, honestly, is known for the party atmosphere. It's a great place to party, great clubs, great DJs, and I'm talking like beach parties, almost like Vegas or Miami style, but they just full send till whatever in the morning.
Right.
Santorini,
No holds bar.
yeah,
Facts. Santorini.
The Santorini you see with the peaks, the cliffs, and the sunset in the background. Top 5 sunsets in the world I've seen.
Wow. Okay.
So what's the average length of your trips? You're talking about, these
2 years.
these trips, like, if you're going
He's
that
on
far
one
away,
long
you're not
trip.
just going for like 2-3
A
days.
lifetime
Yeah.
trip.
Yeah. So that's been the balance because of course I still have a financial planning practice to run. I've got a phenomenal
I hope you're
team.
able to do it online or something.
Yeah, so I try. So I can't, as you know, I can't fully 100% disconnect. Right, in the businesses we are, we can't just like not respond to a client for a month. Right now, I don't have to be the person. I don't have to meet with them to go over their financial plan, but we still got to make sure their money.
If you got internet and a phone, though, right? You're kind of at that point where you can still do your job.
So I can do my job. I
sure.
typically choose not to. So almost all of these trips.
I love that.
Outside
You're completely disconnected, or you try to
I'm
be.
my version of disconnected.
You would prefer to be.
So for me, I'm not working if I'm not doing a client meeting. So if I'm doing a client meeting, that's working. Me answering emails, me forwarding to my team to do this. A client text me, I respond.
Trust me, I'm the same way. Like
Yeah,
people's definition of work is a little different.
Yeah, so for me, that's not working. But if I need to carve out an hour to go through someone's financial plan,
Right,
and
you're
their
actually
recommendation,
doing a
that's-
consult,
That's
like-
actually working for me.
I
Now,
gotcha.
if it was an emergency, something crazy happened, whatever, I would
Of course.
absolutely do it. But for the most part, as in Bali, I spent one day or one evening in Bali time working for like 3 to 4 hours, only because that was a 3-week trip, and Taryn actually had to get some work done. So I was like, well, if you're going to work, I'll get some
3-week
work.
trip, I guess you got to put in some.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
what would you say to the average American or the average person in our community that's listening that's like, oh, he must be a millionaire, or he's in a room with a bunch of guys and make a bunch of money? Like, the average person can also build these experiences into their life.
I'm going to come back to that. I didn't answer your question. As far as average trip goes, it definitely varies. We've done the typical like 5 to 7 nights in the Caribbean. We'll do a weekend trip as well. If I'm going to go to across the world, I mean, quite literally, where it's a 12-hour time difference from us, I'm going to spend 2 to 3 weeks for something like that.
Yeah, because the flight alone, just to get out there.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, several travel days, right?
Usually, I mean, these are long-haul business class flights, but usually it's like a 15-hour leg, then a 5-hour layover, then a 8-hour leg. So that's taking 2-3 days on each end. So it's gonna be a longer one.
Right.
But we also we just spent a week in Honduras, and that was a Sunday to Sunday, Sunday to Saturday. So that's also something normal. To your point about like someone hearing this and they're like, oh my God, must be a millionaire in a room full of guys with a lot of money. Here's the thing. I also mentioned, Julian mentioned when he had a sub 500 credit score.
Yeah, we all start somewhere, right?
I mentioned where I was struggling, trying to survive as a financial advisor.
And you're 15 years into your practice,
I'm 15 years in my practice now, right? And granted, it was really cool that I was able to start when I was like 21. Right, I started earlier than probably most people do, but I still had to hustle and grind, and I still hustle and grind. And a lot of times when I used to talk to people all the time when they would ask me like, how do you do this and such, I also cram a lot into my calendar when I'm actually home. So I will, if I know I'm taking a week-long trip, for example, at the end of the month, the 3 weeks I'm there for that month,
double down.
I'm working the equivalent of like a 4 to 5 weeks in 3.
Yep.
Right? So when I'm here, I'm grinding between the Boldly Go business financial planning. I mean, I wake up for the gym at 5:30, work out, I'm in the office, I'm doing financial planning and investment stuff for my clients and managing my team and all sorts of stuff there. And then whether I'm working from home or I'm at the office and I come home, like from 5-ish to 9, if I didn't already have some late work meetings there, I'm doing travel type related stuff and content and those type of things because I'm building that practice up also, but I keep the cutoff at 9 because I also want to make sure I can spend time with my fiance as well. Of
course.
And I try to make sure I limit that on the weekends and other things also. So that's trying to stay super balanced with it as best as possible, but put in a lot of work.
The power of you speaking and maybe publishing that blueprint, I think you have like a whole nother stream of potential like income or level for all of your brands just through you as a person. Like you just kind of talk to the agents, but say we did like a conference and put 200, 300, 400 people in a room.
Yep.
Is that something where you would come give like a 45-minute presentation on this information that you have?
Hold up, Mike. I just want to put out. This guy is like the main speaker for Northwestern Mutual when they have their conference. Like not main, but one of the top guys.
No,
so he is not shy. I will say that.
Yeah, I was just saying, like, do you have a condensed 30, 45, 60-minute presentation where, maybe we bring you in to speak to 200 agents? You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. So I do. Most of my speaking...
But when?
Yeah, right.
There you go.
Right.
Cake.
Most of my speaking experience is more in financial planning. If I'm talking to advisors, so usually when Northwestern's brought me in, I'm talking to advisors and I'm talking like my story. And a lot of that story is talking about the struggle because, of course, everyone sees the now.
Yep.
Right, but they don't see all the things that happened to get you to where you are now.
You're an overnight success. This just happened yesterday.
Happened, right?
Yeah, it just takes 15, 20
Same
years.
with you, Mike.
Overnight.
No.
Yeah.
Same shit.
So that's a lot of it. Or I'm talking to people about the financial planning, those type of things. On the travel side, yes, I have actually. I'm actually booked for a conference of all physicians next year to speak to all. They're paying me to fly down. I think it's in Alabama to speak to all physicians. All it's not just physicians. They are all CEOs of their pediatric practices, right? To talk to them about points and miles and how to use business expenses for travel. And then we're doing separately. I'm talking. Actually 3 times, but the other conversation is going to be around like financial planning 201 for them. So I get to kind of do both worlds in 2 different talks.
Nice.
And to your point about like writing, I think there are a lot of people that like this is more so their livelihood, talking through and educating on points and miles, and they do more like booking things for their clients with points and those type of things. We have a minor version of that service actually through our brand. But I do write like blog posts and stay updated. So a lot of our followers that we have, I'm updating so we've got 2 episodes a week. One's a full length episode with an expert or myself or someone talking through points and miles. The other one is like a 10 to 20 minute segment where I'm saying, hey, here's the news in travel and points and miles like this week. And as an example, the episode that dropped today, as of this recording at least, I talk about how there's a brand new adults-only secrets resort that just opened in St. Lucia that you can book with 21,000 I think 21 or 25,000 Hyatt points per night. So Julian can stay there Julian can stay there with his 250,000 points for 10 nights for him and Myra, all adults only, all inclusive, and Secrets is one of Hyatt's really nice.
St. Lucia? I'm doing that end of July now. Watch.
Yeah.
So I take it
love
you've
it.
never booked any Disney cruises.
So I have not, but I know most of my listeners have kids. So we brought on an expert a couple weeks ago, Pixie Point Gals. They've got the travel hack, we'll call it, on Disney. And so basically they use Disney Vacation Club, and it's a different point system, but they're basically brokers for this. And you can stay at a $900, $1,000 a night hotel on Disney property with the monorail, where you get early access and late access to the park, all of that, and you might only pay out of pocket $250. It's a $1,000 a night hotel.
That's dope.
Wow.
So I bring on those type of people to the show because again, this is about revolutionizing travel in general. It's not all just about Amex and Chase. It's how can we change how people travel. So honestly, you travel, you live better.
I love it.
You feel better.
So we talk a lot of peaks, right? And it sounds like you've had a lot of peaks over the, let's just say 15 years I've known you. And there's been obviously valleys too. But once you go up and you hit that peak, aka that goal, what happens to people like you and I? You set another goal.
Keep moving.
Okay. So then 2025, now that you're 30 years into your podcast, you're X amount of years into traveling the way that you do, what is your goal on annually? How many months out of the year do you want to be traveling?
So on average right now, if you were to look at a collective year, I spend typically collectively about 3 to 4 months traveling out of the year, collectively. Now, again, I got to balance it. I'm not just taking 4 months straight.
Of course.
And so for me, the goal is, can we go somewhere once a month? Basically.
Okay.
And now it doesn't always have to be the Maldives every single month, but even if it's
But ideally.
right? Ideally. But even if it's a Mexico or a Florida or Vegas or a New York or whatever it may be, going somewhere at least once a month. Because for me, travel kind of resets me.
Right.
I push and grind really, really hard, and then I get away. That fills me back up, and I can come back, and I'm always looking forward to that next trip.
Yep.
As well.
So you always have a trip planned.
Yes.
In some way, shape, or form, right? Always something to look forward to.
Correct.
It's kind of like that light at the end of the tunnel because we all get back on the grind. And then has Taryn, a.k.a. your soon-to-be wife, has she started looking at traveling a completely different way when y'all met? Because she was traveling before you, obviously. You both were traveling individually in your own world, but then you've married each other in that world. And obviously you're now to get really married this October coming up in the Dominican Republic in this dope amphitheater, old Athens-style theme. It's crazy. But I can't make this up. But now, what is her perspective as from a spouse point of view? Has she jumped in on this train and be like, hey, babe, I found this if we do X, Y, Z, because she's learned a lot more on this journey with you?
She's added a lot of value in a few different ways. So she was traveling before me. Her family is from Cuba, so she actually had an opportunity to go to Cuba when a lot of people haven't been able to. And just had done a lot of in general travels over time, not in the point space. I think within our second date, this is the nerd in me, I was like, yeah, the Amex Platinum is where you want to go. She got it immediately. She's like, oh, my dad always told me never have credit card fees. I just explained the benefits. Not even this nerd level of how points can be used. Just hey, this $600 fee, here's how you can make it all up just on the value the card brings. She's like, perfect, makes sense. Got it. Our first week of dating.
That sounds like Taryn, though.
Right? 100%. And so I will say I am the one that typically, I math and analyze the best travel scenarios. There will be places that she's like, hey, what about if we go here or there? And I'm like, well, let me figure out the best time or the best route how to get there, or I'll figure out the getting somewhere, and then she figures out the stuff we're doing once we're there.
Yep.
So I'm not really doing a lot of the research of what we're doing there. Excursion and all that. She's like, oh, we're going to be doing this. I found this horseback riding tour or this walking food tour.
Yep.
That's where she gets in the weeds more, and she enjoys that aspect. But then also from a brand standpoint, right, this is where the things get married. She has it, so I have the background in financial planning and such, and also creative. So a lot of our videos that you see and reels and stuff on Instagram and TikTok and all that, I actually am the one that edited and did all that, shot all that. But she's got a marketing and branding background from her previous companies. And so she actually is the one that's working on the branding side with the Boldly Go business and is connecting with brands and tourism boards and hotel chains and resorts. So when I'm flying my drone around and I'm shooting pictures and videos and such, we're proposing to brands.
She's using it for outreach.
Yeah. Do you want some of this content?
Do you want to partner?
Do you partner?
Yeah,
do you
of
want to
course.
purchase?
Collab.
Exactly. Yeah. Collab. We've had stays. We've had stuff. We've had things gifted to us at stays, whether it's spa treatments, whether it's breakfast, whether it's credits, whether it's free nights, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
So she comes in from that angle. She attacks the branding side, and that's where a lot of the value is. So I'm usually the one where she's just like, tell me what card to open, tell me who I got to call, tell me what I got to sign up for. Like, she's not really thinking through all that as to that level, but she's super supportive. In this game of travel, we call it player one, player two. Because you can maximize your points and your opportunity when you have two people going out. It doesn't have to be a significant other. It can be your family member, friend, whatever it may be.
Business partners.
Business partner, exactly. Yeah. So she's a super solid, super supportive player too, and that's how we win together.
Shout out to Taryn. Good job keeping him in line. I just want to put that out there. Hey, June, fun fact, he speaks Spanish.
Oh, yeah? Well, he's Panamanian. I would have guessed that.
I just want to make sure you knew that.
I didn't know he was Panamanian, but when he said it, I imagined.
Yeah. I imagine. I just assumed.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm Puerto Rican. You'd think I speak Spanish.
I would have assumed that as well.
Yeah, but you don't.
But I don't. I'm Virginia Rican, so that's what
Virginia
it is.
Rican. Yeah. Speaking of Virginia, that's your home. It's where you're from. Mm-hmm. It's where we've been able to make home. As well-traveled people, because I've been all over the world a few times myself. I know you have. You've been all over the place, Steve.
I've been to botanical gardens.
He had the membership there.
I just always remember when I touch down at home or I'm in the car to get home. All your travels, do you still get the butterflies? Like, I'm home. Like, is home still where you want to be? Like is that still? Because for me, I've always said, man, there's still no place like home, bro. Like everywhere I've been, there's still nothing like coming home. Do you still get that feeling or?
Oh, 100%. I mean, there's many trips where it's like, man, I'd love to stay here forever. Kind of in concept, right? But in reality, like, I love being home. And especially because I grew up here. I went to Oscar Smith High School. I'm from Chesapeake originally. Yeah. So many friends that I had growing up left, right? No one wanted to be here. They wanted to go to D.C., New York, or Florida, or Austin, Texas, or whatever it may be. Yeah. A lot of people have come back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right?
They
all come back.
They do.
But
I love it here, so I'm not going nowhere.
That's the same way. I truly love it here. I love the fact, so I live in East Ocean View. My house is a block off the bay. I'm 9 minutes from the airport, which is very handy when you travel a lot. Very, very handy when you travel a lot. And so that, like, this summer, like we were talking before we started recording, like, I love being here. I'm going to be here most of this summer.
Of course.
Because it's the summertime and we're here at the beach. So, yeah, I do get that feeling of, like, it feels good to be home. It does feel good to sleep in your own bed. And, yes, like, it's awesome drinking Dom and eating caviar on a plane at 40,000 feet. You're still not, like, in your own comfortable bed, and you're still traveling for 30 hours to get back from the other side of the world. So it does feel good to come back and comfort. And so I absolutely do believe that. And I don't do many road trips, but I remember, like, on Facebook, probably like 5-10 years ago, there was a video or a picture that was like, nothing feels like home, like when you see the Hampton Coliseum coming down, you know, I-64. Right, and that's still valid. Like, when I'm coming back from Richmond or DC, like, you see the Coliseum, you're like, man, I'm almost home. Right, and
that's
it
true.
feels good.
That's true.
So I still subscribe to that.
All right,
mine is the Chesapeake Bay Bridge.
Up.
You're always going to New York.
Because I'm going to Jersey. I'm going up.
That's true.
So that's I'm home.
Yep.
Yeah.
What is the 2 more questions? But if you can, this is for everybody. If y'all, all right, we're talking about home, right? VA 2 up, 2 down, 757 is home. But we've all thought about, you know what? If I lived somewhere else, it would be here. All right, I'm going to ask the question to each one of you individually. I already know my answer. My wife knows this. I'd live in Cebu, Philippines tomorrow for the rest of my life. And now, hands down. Wow. She has a lot of family there, right? That helps. So we already have a lot of people, boots on the ground. Our power of our dollar is ridiculous over there. Now, mind you, I still have to have money coming from U.S. to be in there. But it's just, I'm not at a fast pace, and I can be as chill as I want over there and still be where I'm at. And everyone culturally is just so giving and thankful, and it's just I love that place. I wouldn't be there tomorrow if I didn't have kids. Stephen Doe.
Shoot, man, I haven't traveled a lot.
He's only
man.
been to the botanical garden.
That's also true. So what section?
That's why I'm like, that's why I'm intrigued. Because I'm like, how can I take advantage of this?
All right, then you wait.
And get
then.
some more travel.
All right, June, what you got?
So I always say it, right? If I didn't live, first of all, there's no place like Hampton Roads.
That's
right?
true.
Like,
I love VA all day.
You know, if you asked me 20 years ago, where are you going to live? It would be Virginia Beach. You know, I live in Chesapeake now, right?
Close enough.
But I would say Charlotte is one of my favorite places.
North Carolina?
Yeah, because of the cleanliness and the diversity. I couldn't be in like Puerto Rico, right? I'm from Puerto Rican. I'm from Puerto Rican. But I like diversity.
Yeah.
Right? I like, if I want to go to Jamaican spot, I want to be able to go to a Jamaican restaurant.
Yeah.
You guys know me. I like all types of things.
Yep.
So I like Charlotte because of that and because of the cleanliness. It's a very clean, upscale place.
Yeah.
And a lot of the bigger cities aren't clean, right?
Facts.
I'm from Jersey, New York.
You can speak to
fucking
that firsthand,
Chicago.
dog.
Like, they're all shitty, dirty.
Yeah.
Paris, they're all dirty.
Yeah.
But when I go to Charlotte, it's a different feeling.
Yep.
So that I would say I'm probably never leaving. Caveat, right? Like, you know, I'll probably move to Pembroke 55 and over with the pickleball court. Right? Like, dead ass.
No, you're definitely
That's
will.
right across the street from
Yeah.
the new office.
That's like in 2 years, so I got you.
Yeah,
So,
like factual. Shit. Don't let me get in one of them spots now.
they're gonna lower it down a few years. Like, damn
What? The
right.
46 and over? Let me in. But I really enjoy Hampton Roads. And I want to say it's because of my friends and my squad. I just like my people. I like my life. I really enjoy my life.
Yeah.
I got very good, long-lasting relationships here.
Right.
So, you know, another place is cool, sure, but I really like Hampton Roads.
I feel you. That's the one thing you can't put a dollar amount on is your lifestyle that you created here. I don't give a shit, rich, poor, middle, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's the energy in the city. Like I always like to say, Hampton Roads is like this small bubble in the entire country that will never pop because it's just so unique from a diversity standpoint, from a tourism standpoint, from a history standpoint, from a military standpoint. There's not another place in the country, and I'll challenge this to anybody, and please call me out if I'm wrong, that is like Hampton Roads.
Yeah, because we
There's
have the
not.
history. There's so much to it.
There's a lot.
And to your point, though, also that it's so hard to recreate the access and the relationships you've built.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you could have a lot of money. You could be wherever you are in the country or in the world. Your car breaks down and you need to hook up at a mechanic like tonight,
Yeah.
like on a Friday afternoon. Like, you could probably figure out who to call when you have relationships and networks you've built up like that.
Facts. Yeah.
Right? And it's so much harder to do. That doesn't matter if you had millions of dollars and you move to wherever. It takes years to build and foster those relationships to be able to have access to, like, if you really needed something last minute or whatever it may be, or you needed the hookup or the plug or the connection, to have the network that trusts you and you trust them and you know who to talk to for that. And that's, for me, why I had all the same sentiments as you.
What about you, Mike?
You know, I grew up in places that aren't like here.
Right.
You know, in and around Boston, not necessarily in Boston, but there's a lot of shitholes around it. Lynn, Malden, Everett, Chelsea. And if you live in the projects in Boston, it's not the same as downtown Boston.
Right.
Right. Just like when you go to Ohio, you can go to a very nice place in Dublin or, you know, something like that. But if you go to Dayton or Cleveland or certain areas of Cincinnati, like, those are the places that I grew up. So for me, Virginia Beach is like always being in a vacation place.
Right.
Like, this is like a resort place to me. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
this is a place where I have a competitive advantage. You know what I mean? Like, that's really how I think about it. And I love it here. But I think that if the kids were graduated and maybe we, I don't know, 15, 20 years from now had sold the companies or something, I would love to live like Mountainside in Gatlinburg or something like that, bro. Like, I've spent so much of my life around so many people and helping so many people that I find peace and solace in, like, you've been to my new house, just the front porch where I stare out and see nothing but trees and I don't see another human, or like I just like the peace and then the crisp air, Mountainside. The people in the South are just nicer. You know, I mean, I'm a Yankee, right? I'm a Yankee and a Midwest guy. You don't get the same treatment in Ohio or New York or Boston that you get when you roll in to order a slice of pie in Tennessee.
Facts.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
like I'm, and I've been to Nashville, but Nashville's a little too busy for me.
Yeah, it's
but
like another
like right
downtown.
outside of it is just gorgeous, man.
Yeah.
Everything's fairly priced. The houses and architecture is
Right.
beautiful. The air is clean. There's a lot of business happening in and around Tennessee. So I would probably say something like that.
What about you, Doe? Back to you before we end with DeAndre.
I mean, growing up here, I guess I love it here. I wouldn't go anywhere else. Just like you guys, I as long as I'm near a beach, I grew up surfing. As long as there's a pickleball court nearby,
Let's
give me a
go.
golf course.
Y'all are
I'll be
like
anywhere.
twins.
So the place that kind of matches all that up, where I was just in Hilton Head recently, and that kind of has everything I need.
Where's
Beach,
that
Hilton
located?
Head,
South Carolina.
South Carolina.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
one. It's on my bucket list.
Is that near
Yeah,
Myrtle
man.
Beach? Or
Yeah. It's a little
Okay.
south.
Keep your hands down, Steve.
So I heard Myrtle Beach is hood. Hilton Head is upscale.
Yeah.
Is that a correct statement?
Yeah, you could say that.
Because I've heard great
It's
things
just
of
nice.
Hilton Head.
It's nice,
Yeah.
calm, quiet, but golf courses are phenomenal. They have a huge pickleball presence there now, and they got a beach. That's all I need.
So
all I need.
your beach life, I mean, Philippines is very, very beach life. So
Yeah.
I agree with that, and the calmness of that. That's why I said that. You're Charlotte. You're on the mountainside in Gatlinburg. To be fair, I'm 2 up, 2 down. I ain't never leaving Virginia Beach, just to be clear. But what about you, Mr. Coke? You've traveled a lot of different places in a very short period of time, which I will say over the past few years. So if you had to choose one, Taryn has to be with you, just to be clear. Okay, where would you live?
Yeah, as you guys are all talking, I was trying to think through this because, quite honestly, I've never actually given thought to like, oh, where else would I live besides where I live now, like what you're talking about. So I know you said if I can choose one, I'm going to actually give you 3. I'm going to keep them short. Right. So I think Thailand, most well-rounded. I mean, you can get a mansion for the cost of a condo here
Yep.
in Virginia Beach.
Agreed.
I heard to eat out there is very, very
Yes.
cheap too, and the living.
Thailand and Bali, you can get. So I'll give you Thailand's the exact same way, but I'll give you a specific example when we were in Bali. But think of it as the same. We had 4 of us for dinner, amazing restaurant, and it was like an open air local place, but amazing food. I mean, food was top notch. A couple people had some beers. All of that for 4 people was $16.
That sounds like the Philippines.
Yeah,
That's-
That was
and
Bali.
like-
That was Bali.
That was Bali. But Thailand's the exact same. I haven't been to the Philippines yet, but I heard the same thing about the Philippines. So
Yep.
Thailand, for kind of all the things that you can get there, the value of the dollar, I'd pick that. From the standpoint of where I've been, that I feel like we've walked it, we've been around, we've seen some really cool stuff. We loved the vibe, the energy. It felt safe. There was great food, everything else. Barcelona, Spain. That was one place I think.
Okay.
Terrence
I heard
tried
great things
to.
about Spain.
Taryn tried to convince me to sell all of our possessions to move there, and it's
Okay.
it's in Europe, so it's still centrally located, it's still a great ecosystem.
I could see that, though.
something like that. A lot of culture,
Yeah.
fantastic food,
Great
And then-
food, great weather.
Yep.
Yeah.
The tapas kind of lifestyle as well. You know, you wake up, you work until 2, you siesta till 4:30, get back to work. Like it's a really cool culture there as well.
My sister lives in Spain right now.
That's dope.
So
Yeah.
Spain would be the one place that we've been from that standpoint. And the last place I'll mention, which we just got back from, which was unbelievably amazing, was Roatan, Honduras. There are so many expats there in general, and so many people that live there from all over the country. I mean, all over the world, like Europe and Australia, that live there. Very similar. You can find beautiful, beautiful homes for $300,000-$400,000. It's an island. The diving, the livelihood of the island itself, I don't think I've seen outside of the Maldives. Like now, there wasn't whale sharks and manta rays, but the clarity of the water, the livelihood of the fish, the bars, the food was dope.
Don't they
all
have
sorts
like
of places.
monkeys running around taking all your stuff?
There are monkeys. Yeah, there.
No, I really
No,
heard that.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
a real thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a real thing.
there are monkeys all over the place, but I guess you could be in places where they're likely to kind of take stuff from you. But outside of when we went to an animal sanctuary, I didn't see any monkeys.
I know why he's saying that because Botanical Gardens is very close to the Norfolk Zoo. And he had a really, really bad experience
All
there.
right, I'm
I
done.
remember that happened. So
DeAndre is funny you say that because from in the Hispanic community, like Honduras is like a
I know.
That's what I heard.
It's like a no-go.
I know.
Right? Like you get kidnapped.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like Honduras is like where you want to go? Not Honduras. So you're the first person that I've heard.
Rotan's an island off of it.
So
Right?
imagine like Great Neck or what's another neighborhood in there's one I'm trying to think in Virginia Beach.
Croatan.
Croatan, thank you.
Yep.
Imagine Croatan conceptually, high end, high quality, safe, amazing. That's like an island off of the coast of Portsmouth. Right, it's like that, but on a whole
That's
other
a
level.
good
On a whole other level, though. I'm talking like it felt safe. Like you walk to the beach at night. I mean, and it also you got to realize as well, it is a huge. Probably 90% of their revenue on that island is from tourism, and so cruise ships dock there on the regular, all sorts of things. So they're gonna keep it. They're gonna keep it safe.
Yeah.
I would argue the same thing about like Cancun, Tulum in Mexico. You hear a lot of bad things, but for the most part, I've been in those places more times than I can count. They're great places to go. Even Mexico City, some of the best food I ever had in my life. Mexico City. I could talk, of course, about places forever. But yeah, I didn't expect Honduras to be as amazing as it was. Now, granted, I was in Roatan, but
Not actually in Honduras.
Correct. There was everywhere you went, people spoke English. There was Americans everywhere that lived there. They owned some of the bars there. There's an Italian restaurant that's the whole restaurant's the size of this room. Some of the best Italian food I've had, better than when I was in Rome. Amazing food from someone from Italy. Like it was so good.
So one thing before we leave, I want to ask you this question. We talked about thank you for first being on today. You dropped a lot of gems because we always talk about encouragement, motivating, and getting to the next level, to your next peak, because there's always going to be another peak, especially when you hit it. But there's a lot of people listening that hasn't even started yet, because a lot of the thing is going to be fear or lack of knowledge or getting into a place where they feel they can make an impact without overthinking it. So if you can give one last tip to somebody that's really, they're already probably traveling, they're already spending their own bread, what is a good tip for them just to get in the game and stop watching for the stands?
I would say this is a tip, and it can apply to a lot of things, points of miles, but life in general. And this is something that I've always lived my life by, especially when you asked me this question last time when you said, hey, well, how would you define your peak life? Be intentional. Be intentional with everything that you do. I'm all about being transparent, but also intentional. And to an earlier point, you asked Julian, a little bit farther back, when it comes to like opening cards and things like that, it's about intentionality. If you're a real estate agent or a business owner, you got to pay your estimated quarterly taxes, and your estimated quarterly taxes are $20,000. Well, then why not open a card that has like the Amex Business Platinum that might have a $20,000 required spend to get 200,000 points when you go to pay your taxes. Because you can put your taxes on a credit card. So there's different things like that where it's like, hey, if you be intentional with it, right? You know that, if I'm going to go to a grocery store, I'm going to use this card that gets me more money on groceries.
Totally should be paying my taxes with a credit card, bro.
That's 100%.
That's a hack.
That is 100% it. And we talk about this type of stuff on the podcast and stuff of things. So at the end of the day, it just comes down to being intentional, right? The way you live, be intentional. If you've been listening, people probably hear your podcast, right? Like you guys talk about some really great stuff. Talk about getting in the room. Just be intentional with it. That's what it comes down to. So you can hear all day. I could write a book. You could read it. If you don't apply it, it doesn't matter.
And we all have stories on how training has gone that way. We can give you lead a camel to water, can't force them to drink. Same concept.
100%.
So DeAndre, thank you for being on the show today, bro. Where can we find you? Where can we follow you and hearing on your days and lives of the reality show? Check out Where I'm At Next. That's not what it's called, by the way.
Now you need to document the 38-day honeymoon.
It will be.
That has to be a thing. 38-day honeymoon series.
He got the drone. He got the fucking 360 camera. He got the diver grade suit. He got all that stuff ready to do it. You just need to hire a VA to do your editing for you, because you need to not be doing that, because your time is so much more valuable. I'm just putting that out there.
Correct. That is true. I do enjoy the editing for the reels and stuff, but for our longer vlogs and the podcast episodes, I do have a guy who's been with me for years.
Perfect.
That edits everything. So I edit like the reels that you might see, but the actual posting of it, the captions, the hashtag, I don't do any of that stuff.
Got it. But
I'll respond to DMs and those type of things. So where you can follow me, pretty much all of my handles everywhere from the travel standpoint is boldlygo.world. So BOLDLY. Some people sometimes forget an L in there. So boldlygo.world. On YouTube, it's at boldlygoworld. And we also have a separate one with our vlog at boldlygotravels. The website, very simply, is boldlygo.world as well. You can see links to the podcast and everything else. The podcast on all platforms, Spotify, Apple, everywhere else, Revolutionizing Your Journey. Or you can just search for my name, DeAndre Coke. You'll find it anywhere. And then from a financial planning standpoint, my firm is called Truicity Wealth Management. Stands for trust and authenticity put together. And so you can find us at truicitywealth.com from that standpoint. And I've had people that have reached out to me. They've heard the podcast. They're like, hey, I feel like I probably need a financial advisor. And they've DM'd me through my travel Instagram, and they're now clients from the planning side. So if you reach out to me in any way, shape, or form, you'll be able to find me.
DeAndre Coke, a.k.a. the man, the myth, the man that's here right now that you just listened to all day. Thank you for being on the show. We appreciate you, dude. Mike Little, Edwin Rodriguez, Steven Didido, and DJ Julian Rivera, DJ Juan. Signing out. Subscribe, like, follow, Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, the whole 9 yards. We'll see y'all next time. Peace.